Happy New Year. And Happy New Year to everyone else. Good afternoon. We will now officially open this meeting of the Illinois Board of Review for today, January 18th, 2024. As a preliminary matter, someone representing the law department will read off a list of cases where matters have been resolved or there is a continuance requested. For all of you, all the appellants, if your matter is noted as moot or moot complied, then if you need the explanation for that, please call the office. The administrator's number is on your communication. Please don't break into the hearing to ask for an explanation. So pay close attention. If your name and or address is called and is moot or moot complied, you need explanation as to what that means. Please call the administrator's office. But for today, everything has been resolved and you're excused to leave the hearing. This is a public hearing, so we ask everyone who's participating to mute yourself depending on where you are, because your background noise creates interference for the hearing process. And for those who are appellants who will be testifying and or have business before the board, note that this is a formal hearing. So that means you need to conduct yourself as if you were in a courthouse. You need to be dressed appropriately. Men, please take your hats and caps off unless you're outside. Please do not present yourself in your bedroom or in your bed or wearing your night clothes or anything like that. This is a formal hearing. The consequences of the decision that this board may be consequential to you and your property. So we're asking for you to be deferential to the proceedings and the process. These proceedings are being recorded by a court reporter, so everything we say is being recorded, and only one person can be recorded at a time. Thank you very much. The board and the panelists will introduce themselves, then we will hear from the law department. Again, I'm Kenneth Woodson, board chair.
Ralph Pincus, board member.
Steve Pettit, board member.
Roger S. Tennant, senior board member.
Beverly Penn, board member.
Ken Washington, board member.
Ryan McSherry, board counsel.
Richard Wade, board administrator.
Thank you very much. Okay, who's representing the city law department today to give us a list of resolved matters?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Jim Kelly on behalf of the city.
Afternoon, Mr. Kelly. What do you have for us today?
So starting, it's actually with numbers 1 and numbers 48.
Okay.
It's the same address and same appellant. Number 1 is 2022-3591-8575 Torresdale Avenue, Joe Smith. Number 48 is 2023-160, same as 8575 Torresdale Avenue, Joseph Smith. That's a continuance that's requested jointly. Mr. Ward is representing the appellant.
Okay, Mr. Ward present? If not, we reviewed this matter in the executive session and it's been noted as continued.
Okay. Number 2, 2022-3734, 90 Red Lion Road, Kabari Chubanidze, city affirm with a 6-month stay of enforcement.
Okay, that's a settlement between the parties. That's a city affirm 6-month stay of enforcement, correct?
Yes.
So noted for the record.
Number 3 is HA 2022-4454, 6552-60 Haverford Avenue, Haverford Holdings LLC, moot complied.
Moot complied, thank you.
Number 5, HA 2022-004683, 536 East Penn Street, Margot Weems, moot.
Moot, thank you.
Number 6, 2022-4709, 6717 Chester Avenue, Ali Bashir, moot.
Moot, thank you.
Number 8, 2022-4905, 7353 Oxford Avenue, Bissett, Durham, moot.
Moot, thank you.
Number 9, 2022-4959, 6352 Calvert Street, Valdemar Vieira, moot complied.
Moot complied, thank you.
Number 12, 2023-153, 4649 Oakland Street, Berliz de Jesus. That's a continuance request made by the city.
Okay, is anyone here present representing that address? 4649 Oakland Street, Berlice de Jesus. Anyone present? Okay, Mr. Kelly, do you know if the appellant was informed of the city's request?
I would have to check with one of my colleagues. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay, if there's no objection from the appellant, then we'll note it as continued.
Next one is number 13, 2023-298, 5350 Knox Street, Manuel Peralta, moot complied.
Move complied. Thank you.
Number 14, 2023-304, 400 West Stafford Street, Paul Molnar. It's my understanding that there was a continuance request made by the appellant that the city does not oppose.
Yeah, so noted, we've granted that in executive session.
Number 15, 2023-305, 2018 North 57th Street, Edith Freeman. That is a city affirm with a 60-day stay of enforcement.
Okay, this is a agreement between the parties
Yes.
for city affirm and 60-day stay of enforcement. So noted for the record.
Next one is number 16, 2023-314, 1307 East Moyamensing Avenue, TWW Investments, Inc., moot complied.
Move complied. Thank you.
Number 17, 2023-320, 4213 Regent Square, James Thomas. That has been, to my understanding, withdrawn.
Okay, is anyone present regarding 4213 Regent Square?
My name is James Thomas, but that's not my address.
Are you, what is your connection to this property?
I don't have a connection to the property.
He's here for a different case.
Okay, that's a different James Thomas, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we should note it as withdrawn?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's actually the same.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
We have another one with the same address, number 21. And I'm just curious whether he's going to read that one in also.
Okay, Mr. Kelly, is that also a withdrawal or do you know?
So that was the next one, 2023-353, 4213 Regent Square, James Thomas. That's moot complied.
Who complied? Okay, thank you.
Number 21, 2023-35. I'm sorry. 22, 2023-362, 555 North Lawrence Street Investments LLC, moot complied.
Who complied? Thank you.
Number 23, 2023-366, 12 South 43rd Street, 12-14 43rd Street Property LLC. That's an agreement for a city affirm with a 90-day stay of enforcement.
Okay, the agreement between the parties, the city affirmed with a 90-day stay of enforcement? Is that confirmed, Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Okay, so noted for the record.
Thank you. The next one is number 24, 2023-367, 12 South 43rd Street, 12-14 43rd Street Property LLC. And this is actually 2425. I'll read them both. 2023-368, 12 South 43rd Street. Those are both moot complied, 24 and 25.
Okay, thank you.
The next one is number 26, 2023-372, same address, 12 South 43rd Street. That's moot. That's just moot.
Moot. Okay, thank you.
Number 27, 2023-374, 5937 Market Street, Hyun Young, doing business as Young's Place, Inc. That is, to my understanding, an appellant's continuance request that the city has no objection to.
So noted, it was continued in executive session.
Okay. Number 28, 2023-377, 3117 Kensington Avenue, HD Real Estate LLC, moot complied.
Moot complied, thank you.
Number 29, 2023-393, 884 North 42nd Street, Donna Bacella, moot complied.
Move compliant. Thank you.
That's actually going to be the case for the other two, 2023-397, 884 North 42nd Street, Donna Bacella, moot complied.
Move compliant.
And number 31, 2023-623, 1541 West Erie Avenue, Donna Bacella, moot complied.
Okay.
Number 32, 2023-404, 5559 Harbison Avenue, Kristen Torpy. That's an agreement for a city affirm with a 120-day stay of enforcement.
Okay. There's a settlement between the parties. The city affirmed 120-day stay of enforcement. So noted for the record.
Next one is number 33, 2023-405, 3028-38 Kensington Avenue, Claudio Rodriguez, moot complied.
Move compliant. Thank you.
Number 34, 2023-408, 1449 South 32nd Street, Abu Becker Fortuna, moot complied.
Move compliant. Thank you.
Number 35, 2023-430, 3800 Mount Vernon Street, Beverly Williams. My understanding is that appeal was withdrawn by the appellant.
Withdrawn. Okay. So noted.
Number 36, 2023-438, 7622 Summerdale Avenue, Evelyn Isom, moot.
Moot. Thank you.
And the last one that I had was one that we already read, number 48 for Torresdale Avenue.
Okay.
So that's all that I have at this time.
Okay. There are a number of other matters that the board has, but before I do that, I want to hear from anyone else. Please raise your hand, and we will call on you. City, Mr. Router.
Thank you. May it please the board, Leonard F.
Yes.
Reuter, for the city of Philadelphia. Can you hear me? Yep.
Yes. Yep. You can
Okay,
hear you
great.
fine.
Thanks. I believe the appeal number 4 on the list, HA 2022-004622 4100 Orchard Lane. The appeal of council member Brian O'Neill is being withdrawn by Sean Whalen, who is in attendance today.
Okay, Mr. Whalen, are you present?
Yes,
unmute.
hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sean Whalen here on behalf of Councilmember Brian O'Neill. This appeal, as just referenced by Mr. Reuter, is being withdrawn. It was subsumed and handled as part of a zoning appeal that went before the Zoning Board of Adjustment last month and is no longer necessary before this board.
Okay. Mr. Whalen, just for technicality, are you an attorney representing Councilman O'Neill?
Yes, I am. Sean Whalen, W-H-A-L-E-N, from Vintage Law, on representing Councilmember Brian O'Neill.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, sir. We'll note it as withdrawn.
Thank you. I believe there was another continuance request that had been submitted for number 7, HA 2022-4714. That's 916 South 48th Street.
Yes.
Harry Cook. And I believe he contacted Ms. Richardson to indicate that he would not be here today, but that as long as I put it on the record, we have no opposition to the continuance. So
Okay, that was discussed in executive session, so continuance is noted for that address.
lastly, and I don't know if you want to deal with this now or when the other continuances and agreements are done, or you just want to call it when it happens, but the city and probably a couple other parties are moved to dismiss case number 37 on the list. That's HA 2023-001041 for 325 South 18th Street.
Yeah, so we will invite argument on that matter when we call it.
Okay, so you just call it in the regular order of the list?
Call it in regular order, yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dejanay Davis?
Afternoon, Board. Dejanay Davis on behalf of the city. I just wanted to bring to the board's attention numbers 10 and 11 on the list.
Yes.
Yeah, the city, I don't know if you guys would like to address this now, but the city wanted to raise the issues of standing on these two matters as well as
Okay.
timeliness for number 11 on this case.
But what about for number 10?
For number 10, there's not a timeliness issue argument, but we are arguing standing for both number 10 and number 11. As the appellant's name is Heather Fortune, but
Okay,
that is-
let's call it now. Mr. Wade, read those two matters in, and we'll ask Ms. Fortune to join us.
Case number 10, hearing appeal ending 5158, 715 South Fraser Street, Heather Fortune. And case number 11, hearing appeal ending 0287, 715 South Fraser Street, Heather Fortune.
Okay, Ms. Fortune, are you present? Heather Fortune.
I believe someone was on earlier.
Okay. Mr. Wade, just for the record, was service made in both these matters?
Yes, both these matters were continued from November 21st, and service was made in both of these matters.
Okay, let's do this, Ms. Davis. It's now 1:27. Do you have other matters before us today?
No, I do not. These are my last two matters for the day.
Okay. Well, shortly after we start the regular order, we will recall these two. We won't make you wait until the end. Okay.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Mr. Cohen.
Good afternoon, members of the board.
Yes.
I actually am here for 9 matters involving AB 4200 and SG 4200 LLC. Michael Mattioni is the counsel for both of those appellants.
Yes.
We do have one of the inspectors that will be one of our witnesses needs to leave by 4 p.m. However, I had a proposal if Mr. Mattioni can get on camera to voice his
Well, let's do
appellant's-
this. Would it be appropriate for you and Mr. Mattioni to take a breakout room?
Oh, sorry. This is a proposal for how to handle the hearings. There's an untimeliness issue that could be dispositive. I would merely propose that the board consider that issue first, and if we run out of time, we can bifurcate and handle the merits later.
Correct. We haven't reviewed the record. That's appropriate, and that was what we would suggest anyway. And so, Mr. Mattioni, are you present, or someone from your office present?
I am here, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Mr. Mattioni, what we will propose to do when this matter is called, the first argument will be on timeliness for all the matters that are listed. I think you represent all the appellants in this case, right, sir?
All the
You do.
appellants, yes.
Yes. Okay. So we will. I'd ask both sides to be prepared to argue timeliness, and then we will proceed, if necessary, to hear the facts of the matter.
Is
Thank
it
you very
possible that I could meet with Mr. Cohen in a breakout room?
Oh, of course.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Wade, can you provide a breakout room for them?
Just Atoyas?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr.
Kelly.
Chair, in the meantime, I believe Mr. Cohen has called to our attention that he has a witness, an inspector who needs to be out by 4 o'clock. So we just
Yes.
make a note with regard to when we call the case.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you. We will do that. Mr. Kelly?
Yes, thank you. I'm not sure whether the board wants to address this now or just when the case is called, but this is for 2419 Mutter Street, number 20 on the list. The city has a timeliness argument. The city believes that this should be dismissed for timeliness. I'm not sure if you prefer for me to make that argument now or just when the case is
Well,
called.
let's make it when it's called, because we do have a few other matters we want to get to. So we'll make it when it's called, and if the appellant is not present, we will then take whatever appropriate action needed to resolve the matter. Okay.
Understood. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you. Alrighty. Just want to quickly check our calendar here to see if there's other matters that are open for the board.
Mr. Chair, I have one matter.
Yes, sir.
Number 36.
36.
This item, I think it was dismissed. She's still on.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Ms. Evelyn
Someone
Isom.
explain it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Evelyn Isom? Please, you understand that your matter has been resolved, right? It's
Okay.
identified as moot, so you're welcome to stay. But this is a public hearing, so you can stay till the end if you like. But otherwise, you're excused to go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Okay, I think I
Chairman,
heard.
if I may interject this,
Yes.
that's the same for case number 5. Ms. Margot Weems is online. I don't know if she's just staying for the hearing, but her case was designated as moot.
Okay, Ms. Weems, you may also leave if you'd like, but you're welcome to stay. You're muted, ma'am, so we can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself if you want to address the board. I'm not sure what happened. Oh, she's still muted. Her image has moved around.
Thank you.
Yes.
Leaving.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe that's all of our preliminary matters. So what I'd like to do is, why don't we call items 10 and 11 so we can address it and get it out of the way, then move on.
Case number 10, hearing appeal ending 5158, 715 South Fraser Street. Heather Fortune, service was made.
Okay, thank you. Heather Fortune, are you present? Anyone else here representing the interests of Heather Fortune at 715 South Fraser Street? Okay, who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, Board. Dejanay Davis on behalf of the City of Philadelphia.
Okay, Ms. Davis, service was made. Well, before I say that, just want to confirm that in matter 0287, Mr. Wade, is service made in that one as well?
Yes.
Okay, service was made in both matters. Ms. Davis, what is your purpose?
Due to failure to appear on both case number 10 and 11, the city will be requesting a city affirm.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pincus, what time do you have?
1:33 p.m.
1:33 p.m. For the sake of the record, I will treat each one separately. So we'll come
Absolutely.
back and do that.
Mhm.
We will poll the board regarding HA-2022-005-158, 715 South Fraser Street, Heather Fortune, city affirmed non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm for non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
Thank you very much. Okay, regarding HA 2023-00287, 715 South Fraser Street, Heather Fortune. What time do you have, Mr. Pincus?
I still have 1:33 p.m.
1:33 p.m. Ms. Dejanay Davis, what is your preference?
Yes, due to the failure to appear, the city will be requesting a city affirm.
Okay. City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm for non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And if I may, Chairman, I do see that the appellant for case number 8 is still on the list, Bassett Durham. If we could let her know that she's free to go as her case was marked as moot for today.
Okay.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Durham, if you're permitted to stay if you like, this is an open forum, or you can leave if you like. Your case has been resolved. Okay?
Thank you very much. Have
You're
a good
welcome.
day.
Good day.
And that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. You
Thank
excused.
you.
Have a good afternoon. Okay. We have several complicated matters, but what I'd like to do for the moment, Mr. Wade, is to start with number 18.
Okay. Case number 18, hearing appeal ending 0321. 2014 Castor Avenue, Macau, Avalinsky.
Okay, who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, Board. Caitlin Carmody on behalf of the city.
Good afternoon. And the appellant, Mikhail Zavalinsky. Anyone present representing 2014 Castor Avenue? Okay, Mr. Wade, would you check for service, please?
Service was made.
Okay, thank you. Service was made. Ms. Carmody, what is your pleasure?
Seeing that the appellant has not appeared, the city would request a finding of city affirmed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pincus, what time do you have?
1:36 PM.
1:36 PM. We will poll the board on HA 2023-000-321, 2014 Castor Avenue, Michael Zavolinsky, city affirmed non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go to number 19.
19, hearing appeal ending 0324. 8034 Mansfield Ave, Sandy. Honore. There's a Sandy
Okay.
H.
Hi, yes, this is Sandy.
Okay, before, who's representing the city, please?
Caitlin Carmody on behalf of the city.
Okay, Ms. Honore, will you unmute yourself, so you can swear you're in? Raise your right hand so you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes,
Thank you. You can place your hand down. Ma'am, would you mind pronouncing your last name so that we can pronounce it correctly?
yes, it's Honore.
Honore? Okay, thank you. Ms. Carmody, do you have any witnesses for today?
Yes, the city would like to call Inspector Yolanda Tolbert.
Okay. Is Inspector Tolbert present?
Saw her before.
Yes, I'm here. I'm trying to put my screen on.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Tolbert, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you. You can place your hand down. Okay, let's proceed. Ms. Carmody?
Hi, Inspector Tolbert. Can you please state your name, where you work, and what your position is?
Yolanda Tolbert, South District Code Enforcement Officer.
And how long have you worked for the department?
Almost 4 years.
And are you familiar with the property located at 8034 Mansfield Ave?
Yes.
And how are you familiar with this property?
Went to the property due to a complaint.
Okay, and have you had the chance to review L&I and public records prior to today's hearing about this property?
Yes.
Okay. Permission to share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me pull this up. I'm going to share what is marked as City Exhibit B. Exhibit A is a copy of the appellant's appeal application. Inspector Tolbert, can you please explain what this document is?
It's a site violation that we issue for, that one is for not having a rental license on the property.
Okay, and are these violations issued in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
Okay, for the record, any highlights that I'm showing in any of my exhibits are not original to the documents themselves. I've added them prior to today's hearing. Inspector, can you please list this date of notice here highlighted at the top?
December 19, 2022.
Okay, thank you. And moving forward to Exhibit C, did you take any photos on your first visit to this property?
Look like the photo was to the right. That's sideways.
I was just going to show an enlarged version. Is this the photograph you took on that day?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that this violation rather is for a lack of a rental license. Can you just explain anything on the exterior of the property that indicates that this is a rental property?
That's just the picture that we take on the exterior of the property to show that that's the property that we're talking about.
Okay. I noticed that there's the two doors on the front. Is that typical of a rental property?
Well, the The rental is on the left side because that's the property that I got into.
Okay. Moving forward to City Exhibit D. Excuse me. Can you please describe what this photograph depicts, the screenshot depicts?
That looks like something that you got out of Eclipse. A screenshot that you took or someone took stating that you have that she has a rental license as of February the 15th, 2023.
2023, okay.
Ms. Carmody, would you mind, because a portion of the document has been covered up, can you reduce the size of it so the whole document can be seen? The
Yes.
far right side, I'm not sure what that says. Okay.
Is that better? It's hard for me to see how it's showing on screen.
Yeah, is it showing it shows the effective date and it shows the expiration date. Okay. And what's the address of the property for this document?
It doesn't show on this screenshot, but I was able to obtain this screenshot by doing a public record search on the Eclipse system for the premises address of 8034 Mansfield Avenue.
Okay, and there are two different properties identified, correct?
Yes, I was going to draw the board's attention to Exhibit H.
Okay.
Which is the deed to the property, which shows that the appellant acquired the property in November of 2021. This search that I had done shows the previous rental license prior to the appellant's ownership of the property, which is why there are two names on that document.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, so Inspector, looking at this effective date of February 15th, 2023, that indicates that this property does currently have an active rental license, correct?
Correct.
But at the time of your inspection, as you stated, there was no license on file.
There wasn't.
Okay, thank you. I do not have any further questions for the inspector at this time.
Okay, Ms. Honore, do you have any cross-examination of the inspector based on her testimony? You're muted, ma'am, so there you go. Okay.
Yes, right now I don't have any cross-examination.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Carmody, do you have any additional witnesses?
No, I do not.
Okay, Ms. Honore, why don't you tell us your understanding of the facts?
So all of the evidence presented is correct. The only thing that may not, I don't know if it's relevant, but for me to acquire my license, I had to correct violations that the tenant had reported. And the tenant was not very cooperative, so I was not able to get the license as timely as I would like. I also have a business license entered for this property. I think I got it in August of it might have been 2022 or 2021. So I thought that business license was sufficient enough to, conduct a rental business with the tenant, especially since I am the owner occupant landlord. But I guess that was also, or that can be considered just a misunderstanding on my part. But I don't, it wasn't me just.
I'm curious, what's the basis of your appeal, given that you've gone ahead and gotten and acquired the license?
I do want to appeal the fine if there's any option for that, because of the violations that the tenant had reported. I was trying to prioritize all of my funds to correct those violations. I was also lost out on a lot of rent. I know that might not be very relevant, but I did lose out on a lot of rent dealing with that tenant, especially in the year of 2023, because of the eviction and his uncooperation for me correcting the violations. So I was just hoping to either get the fine reduced or maybe make some sort of payment plan, because I wasn't able to pay that fine.
Okay. Yeah, the fines themselves and how they are paid are not the purview of the board. The board is really is here of fact as to whether or not the violation is valid. And based on your testimony and others, it appears that it was valid, but we will have to vote to determine the final outcome. Okay, thank you. Ms. Carmody, any final argument before we call the vote on this?
No, I just would like to move to admit my exhibits at this time.
So moved. Any additional questions from anyone? Okay, if not, we will just for a moment. We will hold the board on HA-2023-000-324 8034 Mansfield Avenue, Sandy Henry. Ms. Henry, one thing you might want to do is check in with LNI and or call Ms. Carmody if there's an issue regarding how to work out payment of the fines, if there's a way to appeal the payment of the fines, okay?
Okay.
All right. We'll begin the vote. City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Mr. Washington?
City affirmed.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, city affirm is the vote, means that you've lost your appeal. As I said earlier, though, if the issue is how to work out payment, that's for a different venue. And check in with Ms. Carmody, she may be able to give you some direction on that.
Okay, all right,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Have a good day. Okay, let's go back and recall the matter that Mr. Cohen and Mr. Montioni were in the breakout room to discuss. If you
Thank
would,
you very much, members of the board.
yes, sir. Actually, just so we can keep the record clear, let's, Mr. Wade, just read in the first matter, number 29.
It's case number 39,
39, my apologies.
hearing appeal ending 4971 4200 Chester Ave, EB 4200 LLC.
Okay. Mr. Cohen and you, Mr. Montioni, had an extended conversation. Where are we?
We had discussed continuing these matters so that we could try to settle this out of the hearing room and out of court. And the city agrees that would be a reasonable step at this juncture to continue these 9 matters, numbers 39 through 47 on today's list.
Okay. Mr. Montioni, is that your position?
That is my position, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Let's do this for the record. Mr. Wade, as you read in each matter and we will note it as continued, okay?
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
Yes, sir. But before you do that, Mr. Pincus?
these matters have been continued, I believe, from
Oh.
a prior hearing date.
I don't believe so. I think
don't
this is
believe
the
so.
first hearing date.
Is this the first listing? Okay.
This is the first listing, Mr. Pincus.
That
Thank
said,
you.
I understand there's 9 of them, so scheduling is at the board's discretion. It might be difficult to find 9 slots available.
Are you, if you're anticipating a settlement, I'll hold off until you tell me you need a date.
I think we should put a date on the calendar just to make sure.
How many days? 60 days? For
Well, but
settlement?
that I think is at the board's discretion
Continue.
because I have no idea when the board has 9 slots available on its next list.
Okay. You want me to read each matter? Mr.
Yes,
Chair?
just read each matter and note it as continued. Thank you.
Case number 40, hearing appeal ending 4972 4200 Chester Ave, EB 4200 LLC. It's continued. Case 41, hearing appeal ending 4973 4200 Chester Avenue, SG 4200 LLC. It's continued. 42, hearing appeal ending 4974 4200 Chester Avenue, EB 4200 LLC. It's been continued. Case 43, hearing appeal ending 4975 4200 Chester Avenue, SG 4200 LLC has been continued. Case 44, hearing appeal ending 4976 4200 Chester Avenue, EB 4200 LLC has been continued. Case 45, hearing appeal ending 4977 4200 Chester Avenue, SG 4200 LLC has been continued. And case 46, hearing appeal ending 4978 4200 Chester Avenue, EB 4200 LLC has been continued. And lastly, case 47, hearing appeal ending 4979, 4200 Chester Avenue, EB 4200 LLC has been continued.
All right, thank you very much. Those
Thank you very much, members of the
Thank
board.
you.
Did we read in number 39?
Yes,
I read,
yes. 39 was the first one. Unless I missed something.
I don't think
No.
it was read in.
Okay,
I believe it was read in at the beginning. Mr. Chair asked that it be read in, and with the exception of all the other ones, and then we made a different decision on it.
okay. So let's do this. Just for the record, it's clear. Number 39, it's just HA 2023-004971, 4200 Chester Avenue, EB 4200 LLC is also continued.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Alrighty. Let's go at the number 20. Thank you, everyone. You excuse
Thank you,
Mr.
members of the board.
Montioni. Thank you.
brings us to case 20, hearing appeal ending 0340, 2419 Mutter Street, Ignacio Vigo.
Okay, who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Jim Kelly on behalf of the city.
Mr. Kelly, good afternoon. Mr. Vigo, Ignacio Vigo. I think I saw the person's image earlier.
He's muted.
It's muted. He's muted.
Mr. Vigo, would you mind unmuting yourself? You're muted, sir. Can you unmute yourself? Mr. Wade, can we help him?
Hello. You hear me?
We can hear you, but we now, yeah, we can hear and see you now. Okay. All right. Mr. Vigo, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Your right, the other hand, yeah. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you. Before we begin, sir, I just need to know, what is your relationship to 2419 Mutter Street?
I'm the owner.
Anyone else's name on the deed?
No.
Just yours.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Kelly, you have any witnesses today?
I do have a witness, but I would like to make a timeliness argument first, if I may.
Okay, sure, please do.
So, the city believes that this appeal should be dismissed due to untimeliness. The initial notice of violation that was issued in this case was issued, and I'm happy to call the witness to testify to this, but as an offer of proof, the initial NOV was issued on August 30th of 2022, and the appeal filed in this case was not filed until January 19th of 2023, nearly 6 months later. Notice in this case was sent to 2400 Masher Street, which is the OPA address for the property. Additionally, this is a vacant property. There's no vacant lot license or vacant property license from which the city could have pulled a better address to effectuate notice. And so as a result, we're asking that this appeal be dismissed as it's time barred.
Okay, just for one second before I hear from Mr. Vigo, the 2419 Mutter Avenue is the mailing address, or is that the property that in question?
The 2419 Mutter Street is the property in question today.
Okay.
2400 Masher Street is the address to which notice was sent. That's the address that's on OPA because that's what's on the deed that the appellant signed for 2419 Mutter Street.
Okay, Mr. Vigo, what is your argument regarding the untimely appeal?
Well, what it was, I never received any notice because I sold that property in December 2nd, 2020. And I changed all my addresses and everything.
Okay, so I need to understand something. So you don't own 2419 Mutter Street?
Yes, I own that, but I don't own 2400 North Masher Street. And that's apparently where they send the notice to.
Okay. Did you change your mailing address with the Department of License and Inspections?
No, that I didn't do. I changed every other one. No, I didn't do that.
Okay, so how was the department supposed to be in touch with you?
Well, I don't know. They received, they caught, they found me now. So I don't know. I paid all my taxes, everything up to date. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was your responsibility to maintain your mailing address. You still own Mutter Street, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Any questions from anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Vigo, did you at some point or at the time you purchased this property, did you live at 2400 Masher Street?
Yes. I own that property since I think it was 95. I bought that back in 95, I think it was.
So that was your legal address at the time you purchased this property on Mutter Street, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And did you create a forwarding address when you moved?
Yes, I did.
And your mail wasn't forwarded?
Yes, my mail, whatever mail was forwarded to, it came to 147 East Albania Street, Philadelphia, PA 19120.
So is that how you, this is Ralph Pincus, is that how you ultimately learned about the violation?
Yes, once I received something came to my house now, that's when I realized I realized about the notifications. Yes.
So when did you receive the notification?
Well, I appealed this back in January 4th.
No, that's not what I'm asking you. I asked you when you received it.
So I'm trying to figure it out. So it was like maybe like a month before that or something like that.
I have a question, Mr. Vigo. This is Roger Tennant. Did you earlier state that you changed your addresses, but you didn't change your forwarding address for this particular property? You just changed it for the U.S. Postal Mail Service, not with L&I for this property? Is that what you stated earlier?
Yes, I did the taxes, I did all that, but I didn't know how to go to L&I, changed that too also.
And you did the taxes down at Municipal Service?
Yes, that and the water department, I did that for the water runoffs, all that.
Right. And all that's in the same area right next to each other.
Yeah, one is in the back of the street. One's on Mutter Street and the other one's on Manchester Street. They're right behind each other.
No. The department where you went to Municipal Services to change the address, tax review and water department has a station right next to and in between L&I. But you never went to L&I to change the address.
No, I didn't think I had to. I didn't know I had to do that.
All right.
Okay.
How did you
Mr.
think you
Tennant,
could get any?
if I understand this correctly, Mr. Vigo, you never registered this property with the Department of Licenses and Inspections. Is that correct?
I bought the lot. I didn't know what, I just bought the lot and I hold on to the lot. I didn't know what else I had to do with it. I just owned the lot. I didn't know,
So yeah, you don't have a rental license.
No, I'm not renting. It's just a lot.
He didn't have a vacant property license.
Vacant
Mr.
property
Chair.
license.
Oh,
Not a
Mr.
pro-
Oh,
Chairman,
okay,
may
that.
I ask a question of Mr. Vigo?
Yes.
Mr. Vigo, this is Beverly Penn of the board. I apologize. I thought that I heard you give a third address when discussing mail being forwarded.
Yes.
Did I mishear? Did you have a third address at the time that this violation notice was issued?
Yes.
And what address was that?
147 East Albania Street, Philadelphia, PA 19120.
And do you own that address, that property?
Yes.
And did you reside at that property at the time that this violation notice was issued?
Yes.
And that's the address
Okay,
that's on his
so-
appeal, Ms. Penn.
Right, so my question is, when you moved from Mutter Street, from Masher to Albania, did you provide OPA with the change of address for 147 East Albania?
What's OPA?
Office of Property Assessment? That's where your real estate taxes come from.
But yes, I changed all that. I changed everything. Yes.
And then when you purchased Mutter Street, did you again notify OPA that you had a third address?
No, but Mutter Street. I owned 2400 Manchester Street first. Then I bought Mutter Street, and then from there I sold the Manchester Street, and I moved to Albania Street.
So at the time of your move to Albania Street, you notified OPA of this third change of address or this third
Yes.
new address.
Yes, I get my taxes. I get everything from there. That property sent to my house. Now this address.
And did you testify that when you finally did receive the notice, it had been forwarded from 147 East Albania?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Vigo, do you recall when you received the notice? You said you did have it forwarded to you at 147 East Albanus, but you didn't specifically state a date.
I don't, if it's last year, I mean, like, I appealed this last year, so sometime last year, I'm not so familiar with the date exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the problem, Mr. Vigo, is that the statute gives you 30 days to appeal. Now, there's some discretion that the board has, but there has to be a reasonable amount of time and a good reason.
All
And
right,
so that's
okay.
that's why we're asking these questions.
Yes. So when I got the notice, I called the number on it and I talked to the lady. I got an email from Kimberly. Forgot her last name. I think I have it here in my important notes. Let me check my notes for a minute.
Oh, well, wait a minute, sir. The issue is, when did you receive the notice and when did you make the appeal? That's really what we.
I know that I don't have that off my top of my head. I don't have it, but I might have it in my notes right here. But I have to go into my notes.
Okay, well, is that something you can do quickly, like in the moment, or you have to go away and go through some research?
No, I'm gonna try to look on my phone. I should have it on my phone.
Any objection, Mr. Kelly? You're muted, sir. Yep.
I mean, I don't have any objection to him pulling it up on his phone, but I mean, I think at a certain point, though, I mean, the NOV was issued August 22nd, 2022, and the appeal was not filed until January 19th of 2023. I mean, even
Yes.
if it was a month or two, it might be a different story, but we're talking about 6 months here.
Yep. Understood. Okay. Mr. Vigo, since we started down this route, go ahead and pull it up, and then we will make a decision.
All right.
Chairman,
Yes.
you did say that we could, if we felt that there was a reason to have a conference about a matter, I would request 1 minute in executive session.
Sure. Okay, I'll do that. I want to hear from Mr. Vigo, then we'll take executive session. That'll be important information.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Wade, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any chat rooms.
Yeah,
We're
he
waiting.
hasn't asked for it yet. We're waiting for a moment.
Okay.
Just to see if Mr. Vigo has the information that he said he had. If not, we will go ahead and take a
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. It's not letting me pull it up right now.
Okay, I tell you what we will do. We will go in executive session for a few moments. It's now 2:03, and we'll be back by 2:06. And if you have it when we come back, Mr. Vigo, you can share that with us.
Okay, thank you.
Prepared to go back on the record. Okay, Mr. Wade, would you call, I believe the only remaining item is number 37. Is that correct?
37 and 38.
And 38? Let's do this then. I know, did we get requests for to schedule a matter because of an inspector availability? Which one was that?
I thought that was 4200 Chester, and that was called already. That's the
Okay.
only request today.
Okay, then would I'd like to go to 38 then?
Case number 38, hearing appeal ending.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Rooker had his hand raised.
Mr. Router?
Router, I'm sorry. Had his hand raised.
Yes, sir.
No, that was just because I'm the attorney on 37, but you're going to go to 38 first.
Yes, because
Okay.
37, I understand, it's a fairly complex matter.
If 37 is just argument, then I'm fine with that going first, because 38 will be, I think, an actual hearing, but whatever the board wants to prefer.
Well, we're gonna go with 38. Let's get it out of the way, then we'll be able to deal with this other matter. So, Mr. Wade, if you could call 38.
Case 38, hearing appeal ending 4225. 415 South 17th Street, Michael Tracy.
Okay, who's representing the city?
That is Caroline Curley, Curley, on behalf of the city.
Good afternoon, Ms. Curley. And Michael Tracy.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we need to see your face.
You there?
We're there waiting for you to, okay, okay. You in a vehicle, sir?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you pulled over and not driving, correct?
Yes, I am.
Done, okay. Your response to me, I'm not sure what your response was. Does that mean you're parked?
Yes, I'm parked, sir. Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Ms. Curdy, do you have a witness for today?
Yes, board, I'll have 2 witnesses for today.
Okay, and would the present so that we can swear them in?
Inspector Caputo, who I see, and Director Serrano, who I believe I also see.
Okay, if both gentlemen would raise your right hand so that you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God? Mr. Serrano?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Caputo? You muted yourself, Mr. Caputo.
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. You can place your hand down. Mr. Tracy, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. You can place your hand down. Ms. Curley, before we begin, I just want to be clear. This is a matter of an individual personal license and not a corporate license, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so there's no need for representation by an attorney.
That's the city's position.
Okay, thank you. All righty. Mr. Tracy, so you understand how we will proceed. Ms. Curley will put her case on first. You will have the opportunity to cross-examine her witnesses, after which you will be asked to put your case on. Do you plan to call any witnesses, sir?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Curley, why don't you begin?
Board, as a brief introduction, I just did want to remind the board this matter was originally scheduled for a hearing before the board on December 7th, 2023. The day before that hearing, myself and the board received a request for a continuance based on Mr. Tracy's unavailability. A letter purporting to be from the Department of Veterans Affairs was sent to myself and the board. At the date of the hearing, the city did oppose that continuance based on that letter appearing to be fake and doctored. Following that, the board did grant a continuance of that matter, and I will just share my screen right now to remind the board of what that letter looked like. Can everyone see that?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so I did reach out to the Department of Veterans Affairs about the letter. I did receive this supplemental email response after speaking with them. Essentially, the email from the Office of Inspector General for the Department of Veterans Affairs, investigated the matter and indicated that the letter was in fact fake, that there is no that the Tom Walker identified on this letter it indicates he is not a VA employee. And when he spoke to the inspector at the OIG, he indicated he doesn't know anything about this matter or anything about Michael Tracy. So I would just like the board to take that into consideration, and we'll have some questions for Mr. Tracy about this when it comes to his turn to speak.
Okay, Ms. Curley, is it your position that letter is given that you've discovered that it wasn't authentic, does it have any other than for credibility's sake, does it have any weight in terms of the facts of this case?
No,
Okay.
just for credibility.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Just,
So proceed. Yeah.
Yeah. And so as an introduction, this matter is solely about will be solely about the suspension of Mr. Tracy's contractor license for essentially underpinning that was completed on a project without special inspectors present, and the subsequent interactions with Mr. Tracy and the department. Importantly, Mr. Tracy did not appeal the underlying violations that were cited in the notice of violation. He only appealed the suspension. So for purposes of today, the violations, are not contested. It's really the department's decision to suspend. So that's the only thing we're really talking about today. But the department will have 2 witnesses to present, Inspector Caputo, who conducted the actual inspection on site. And then I will have Director Serrano of the Audits and Investigations Unit to testify as to why the department felt it necessary to suspend his license.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll begin with Inspector Caputo. Inspector Caputo, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see.
Great, thank you. Can you identify who your employer is and what you do?
I'm a building inspector at the Central West District.
Okay. And that's for the Department of License and Inspections, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And are you familiar with the property we're talking about today? 415 South 17th Street?
Yes, I am.
Can you talk about how are you familiar with that property?
Violations were written on the property following a complaint for underpinning without the special inspector on site.
And were you the inspector who did that investigation?
Yes.
Okay, so walk us through the process. When you arrived at 417 South 17th Street, you know, what did you see? What did you do when you first got on site?
There were 3 people working. They were underpinning the property, and the special inspector was not on site.
Okay. Can you just explain, you know, for the record and the board, what exactly is underpinning?
Underpinning is the excavation under the existing foundation wall.
Okay, so you're digging under the foundation, you know,
Yeah.
you're breaking up the foundation and digging under it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that-
It's typically done in phases.
Okay.
And
Is that-
it has to be done under the supervision of the special inspector assigned to the underpinning.
And getting into, why is that dangerous? You know, why
Yeah.
is that special inspector
It
required?
could undermine the existing foundation wall. It could
Okay.
damage the adjacent properties attached to the one that's
Cause-
being underpinned.
It causes structural instability to the
It is
buildings.
structural, yes.
Right. So we're looking at on the screen, it's marked as City Exhibit 1. Is this what you saw when you arrived on scene?
Yeah, I took the picture.
Okay. And essentially, I think where my scroll is in the bottom third, you know, you can see there's been substantial removal of dirt. Is that the underpinning you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And the 3 workers that were on site, did they have, you know, any of the training cards, the OSHA cards required to identify them?
No, they didn't.
Okay. And I think you already said was there any special inspector on site supervising this work?
No, no one was there.
Okay. And so what did you do after you discovered this?
I called, the violation was written for the property,
Mhm.
and a stop work order was issued.
Okay, so you issued a stop, you told the people who were working there to stop working?
I told the subcontractor to stop immediately.
Okay, and I think I'm just gonna, this is a second picture I think you took. It shows the underpinning more substantially. Is that where I think this measuring stick was, that shows all the underpinning, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so after you issued the stop work order, what did you do next?
Well, I didn't have the stop work order sign. I didn't have the poster with me.
Mhm.
So I had to go back to the office, write it down, and then after a couple of hours, I went back to the site. And the contractor was still working there. He hadn't stopped working.
Okay, so they continued to work.
He continued, yes.
Okay, did you tell them to stop again after that?
I did.
And did you post the stop work order, the physical copy of it?
Yes.
Okay. And at any point during the day, were you able to speak with Mr. Tracy?
I exchanged messages with Mr. Tracy, and I also talked to him.
And tell me what those messages said. What did you say? What did he say?
Well, he said that I sent him a text saying that, the special inspector wasn't on site, and he said he would be arriving soon. And that was basically the conversation I had with him.
Okay.
Now it's
And
been-
when you came back in the afternoon, was there any special inspector on site?
No,
Okay. And as a result of that, I think I'm just going to scroll down quickly. Actually, never mind. You wrote, and as a result of that, you wrote violations for this property for all the things we've discussed today.
yeah.
Okay. And as far as your, that's actually it. I have nothing further for Inspector Caputo.
Okay. Mr. Tracy, do you have any cross-examination questions of Mr. Caputo?
I would just like to interject that I'm pretty sure we
No,
presented.
no, Mr. Tracy, this is your opportunity to ask a question. You can put your case on in a moment, but
Oh, okay.
if you don't have any questions, we'll move on to the next witness.
No questions of the inspector.
All right, thank you. Ms. Curley, your next witness.
I'll call Director Serrano at this time.
Okay.
Director, can you hear me and see my screen?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Director Serrano, can you identify your employer and your position?
Yes, City of Philadelphia License and Inspection, and I'm assigned as the Director for Audit Investigations Unit.
And as the Director for Audits and Investigations, were you able to review the file on this property that we've been discussing today?
Yes.
Okay. And as a result of the inspection conducted by Inspector Caputo, did AIU issue a licensing violation notice to Mr. Tracy?
Yes, which is the form that you have up, Exhibit 6.
Got it. So that's Exhibit 6. And this recites, several violations. We'll go through each one. It was issued September 29th, 2022. I see on the first page, this lists 3 violations for an unlicensed subcontractor working without their OSHA 10 training. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then, we see several violations that relate to the underpinning, including, deviating from approved plans, the special inspection or the special inspector not being present while underpinning was going on, the removal of first floor joints, which was not a part of the permit, and the continued work by the continued underpinning work that happened despite the oral stop work order. All of that is cited in here as the basis for your suspension. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And following the issuance of this license, did the department formally seek to suspend Mr. Tracy's license for 4 months?
Yes, my predecessor wrote the letter notification. That would be William Fernandez.
Okay. And can you just summarize, this letter is extensive. Would you agree with me that it essentially recites the violations that we've discussed today?
Yes, as a result of information received from Inspector Caputo, the letter was written and outlined as to why the violations and the revoke of the license or the suspension of the license. In short, with the OSHA certifications not being available for the inspector, in addition to the work that was witnessed, and upon Inspector Caputo's return back to the location after a verbal stop order was given. So as a result of all the information collectively, each violation was noted and this letter was presented to Mr. Tracy.
Okay. And can you just explain, why is it important in this case that his license be suspended? What are the safety concerns the department has about this kind of activity?
Well, it was not monitored by a special inspector. It wasn't there was no one certified that was doing the work that we can identify. And the work was requested to stop immediately because the problem that we faced in the past was these buildings collapsing, which causes imminent danger to the neighbors, the community, the workers themselves, and any other property within the area of the building in the event something occurred as it collapsed.
Okay. I don't have any further questions for Director Serrano at this time.
Yeah. Mr. Tracy, do you have any cross-examination of Mr. Serrano?
I do not.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Curley, any further witnesses?
Nothing further.
Okay. Mr. Tracy, share with us your understanding of the facts.
So we, anytime we hire a subcontractor, we have them sign a subcontractor lien waiver form or a subjugation form. In that form, it's supposed to be notarized by them. It says that they're supposed to have all of the proper licensing and insurance, along with all the safety requirements required. the subcontractor in question, John Traz, did sign this form, stating that he was licensed and all of his employees were covered by workers' comp and subsequently any OSHA requirements. That was the first issue. Now, of the actual project itself, the special inspector of this project was Jim Clancy. He did make a stop at that project that day. He took some pictures himself. He wrote a report. I'm pretty sure we submitted those reports to the city as well, stating that he had inspected the work and that when after Inspector Caputo stopped by, that the work had to continue because if it didn't, the building was deemed unsafe. And at the time, the special inspector, Mr. Clancy, said that he is taking control of the project because he's the special inspector in charge for this specific project. That information was relayed to that subcontractor, and then that subcontractor later told that to me. So I was under the standing that they had worked out an arrangement to make the building safe while to make sure that it didn't collapse or there wasn't any imminent danger during that time. I was unaware that the inspector had spoke to the subcontractor John Traz about the OSHA workers. If any of my employees, they can produce their OSHA cards, either a picture on their phone or the office can be called. And then subsequently, one of the violations on there is the removal of the first floor joists. If the city takes a look at the architectural plans that were originally submitted, it clearly states on the architectural plans that the first floor joists were to be removed due to the underpinning in there. After we had discussed everything with Inspector Caputo, we did some investigating ourselves. We found out that John Traz, and he did not have the proper licenses. He was immediately terminated, and we subsequently finished the project in-house under the supervision of Mr. Clancy.
Okay, anything else?
I also believe that the city coerced Mr. Traz to bring false statement in order. He was threatened by tens of thousands of dollars of fines, which he couldn't pay.
I'm going to object at this point, just so it's on the record for hearsay, but I understand that.
Okay,
that's
Mr. Tracy.
That's
Mr.
all right.
Tracy.
Yes.
Okay, they're saying if you're going to introduce something like that, you need to have some facts with you.
Well, the attorney for the city, is not under oath, so she's more than happy to.
But she's
object.
an officer. She's an officer of the court and has a responsibility to protect the integrity of this proceeding. And so, in this matter, I will sustain her objection. So, please move on.
Understood. And we subsequently finished the project, and we worked hand in hand with Inspector Caputo, and we got it done. So we're well aware that there was a bad apple in the mix there. We corrected the issues as quickly as possibly can, as administratively, and that project was subsequently performed and inspected by Inspector Clancy, and we have the reports for them.
Okay, Ms. Curley, you have any cross-examination?
Just very briefly, Mr. Tracy, the special inspector you've identified, Mr. Clancy, I believe, that was not the special inspector who was on your permit. Is that correct?
That he was hired by the original one, but it was not listed on the permit. And then we made an amendment to make sure that he was listed on that permit. And
that amendment was made, the day or the day after literally these violations were issued. Is that correct?
I'm not sure of exactly of the date.
Okay, I'm just going to share my screen briefly. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes. I just need you to enlarge it a bit, please, so we can read. The type is really small.
So I'm just going to scroll in. An amendment was made on May 18th, 2022, approximately 2:15 p.m. or 2:19 p.m. I'm sorry. which was after which is the day of the violation, that the inspection occurred, and that amendment was to revise the special inspection agency from Geostructures Inc. to Clancy and Associates. So would that date refresh your recollection of when the amendment was made?
If that's how it states in Eclipse, then yes.
Okay. So you would agree with me then that the special inspector on your permit wasn't the same inspector that you're talking about today?
I believe he was a subcontractor of Geostructures, but you know, I don't know what their arrangement was, if they had a JV agreement or they had some kind of employment issue. But it was brought to our attention that it was listed as Geostructures. So I don't know how their employment history worked.
Okay, and you didn't, stop to check?
He was presented to us that was the special inspector that was handling that project.
Okay, and that special inspector wasn't added to your permit until about June 2nd, 2022. Is that correct?
I guess that's how long the city takes. So if it's, a 30-day review.
Okay. It's not because, well, let me just share my screen one more time. So in City Exhibit 4, we now see comments submitted from the department on May 23rd, indicating that there's 3 outstanding requirements for your special inspector. And I'll move down to City Exhibit 4, reflecting a date of June 2nd, 2022, indicating that the special inspection schedule has still not been accepted. So would you agree with me that there was no special inspector on your project, from at least May 23rd, 22nd, I'm sorry, till after June 2nd?
Yeah, and there was no work being done at the property either.
Okay. I don't have anything further for Mr. Tracy.
Okay, anyone else have any questions of Mr. Tracy? If not, Mr. Tracy, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Go ahead,
Yes.
Mr. Pincus.
Mr. Pincus?
I was going to ask if Ms. Curley could put back on the screen the letter that was purportedly sent from the Bureau of Veterans Affairs.
One moment. There we go.
Yeah, are you going to question him at all, Miss Curley, regarding this letter, or did you?
To be honest, I think that it goes to credibility. The board can make its own determination about that. About whether his testimony today is truthful about what he's provided in the past. I've been pretty upfront about that.
Well, Mr. Pincus, I think the other question would be, Ms. Curley, do you plan to submit this with your evidence package?
Yes,
As
this has already been submitted. It was part of our opposition
Okay.
to the continuance. The only
Okay.
addition would be the supplement that I received from the Office of Inspector General, which I did forward to the board prior to this hearing.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Pincus, they'll all be part of the official record, both letters.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Mr.
Yeah,
Kennedy?
I did. Mr. Trez, I have a question for you. When you hired Geostructures and Mr. John Torres, you didn't check to verify that he was licensed as a special inspections contractor?
Mr. Clancy is the special inspector, and he was licensed. He is a licensed special inspector with the city of Philadelphia.
But you testified that you had subcontractor Geostructure John Trez first.
No. Geostructures was the engineer of record. John Traz was the concrete subcontractor.
Who was working on site or on site?
Correct. Yes, it was working on site. Correct.
So he's not a licensed special inspections agency, correct?
Correct. Yes, not John Traz,
Okay.
but Mr. Clancy is.
But Mr. Clancy came on after the inspector was there and John Trez and his workers were on site, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And then Mr. Clancy, the licensed agency engineer, was brought on board, correct?
So they were all there at the same day. I think it was just like ships passing in the night. I think Mr. Clancy showed up twice or three times that day. He was there in the morning to give the guys the initial okay. He left, he came back. After the second time he came back, Mr. Caputo showed up. And then Mr. Clancy stopped by later in this afternoon, right before Mr. Caputo showed up with the paper stop work order.
If I may,
Okay, let's not roll- Go ahead.
Mr. Tennant, I just want to, these are representations you're making, Mr. Tracy, but you don't have Inspector Clancy here to confirm that he actually was at the site, and you have no evidence you're submitting confirming that he was at the site. Is that correct? Yes or no?
We submitted
Yes.
this to the city, his reports.
You have
Okay.
copies of those reports that you submitted?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ms.
Do you have
Curley,
them for
and I put-
evidence for today? Do you have them for evidence as
Thank
a?
you.
Yeah, Mr. Tracy, do you have them? Did you submit them as evidence for today's hearing?
We submitted them as the original appeal hearing with the packet along with the contract between us and
Okay.
John Traz.
Do you want to pull them up so we can see them, or is that not part of your presentation?
I don't have accessibility to those. We sent those to the city.
Okay. All right.
All right,
My
Mr. Chair, I
apologies for
have
cutting you off, Mr. Tennant. My apologies.
That's
So
okay.
please.
Thank you, Mr. Tennant, for letting me interrupt.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I just want to verify because what I saw, and Ms. Curley, you can correct me, Ms. Trez. Ms. Curley showed evidence that Mr. Clancy wasn't amended to the permit until after the violation was written, and that Inspector Caputo was on site, and the day that he was on site, Mr. Clancy was not a part of the permit as special inspections. Am I right, Ms. Curley?
That's correct. And I would add that he wasn't present. No one was present, whether it was this special inspector or any other, while this work was ongoing.
Right. We saw dates that indicated that the amendment was placed and it took place for it to be uploaded and approved. And at the time, that was no Jim Clancy and special inspections on site that day. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Trez.
Okay. I do have a question for Mr. Caputo. If you would unmute yourself, sir. The special inspectors for these kinds of demolition or construction projects that have underpinning, are they required to be on site whenever work is in progress?
The special inspector has to be on site while the underpinning is taking place.
Okay.
It's also a city requirement. The underpinning is supposed to be continuous.
Okay.
It means that has to be there all the time.
Okay. And in this case, was underpinning work in progress when you visited the job site?
Yeah, there was excavation. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Tracy, my question to you is that how many projects does your firm currently have under construction in the city of Philadelphia?
Active permits?
Yeah, in the city of Philadelphia.
Probably 32.
Okay. And how long have you been in business?
It's 2014.
Okay. Alrighty. And you've been in business since 2014. Now, you're the general contractor, correct?
Correct.
And so ultimately, your company generates the profits and or the losses on any project, correct?
Correct.
And you're responsible for paying the subcontractors.
Correct.
Okay. And so in this instance, they all work for you.
Correct.
Okay. And so I'm not certain how you explain your lack of understanding as to who was licensed on your job.
I didn't, we are not a large firm. I didn't realize that it was, with these individuals. The Mr. Trash himself has an OSHA card, but I didn't realize that he employed people who did not have the requirements. And in his statement, his subcontractor subjugation form stated that, anybody that was going to be on his crew was, covered by his insurance and his safety requirements.
Do you have superintendents for every job who works on your payroll?
I do now.
You didn't at that time?
No, I did not.
Okay. Now, what is your responsibility of your superintendents that you now have on your payroll?
They are on every project to make sure that all employees or subcontractors carry an OSHA 10 card wear the proper safety clothing, and are licensed in whatever field that they may be in if there are a sub that requires a license.
Okay, and an additional question regarding the removal of those joists on the first floor.
Correct.
The issue there is, Mr. Caputo, was there a stamp set of drawings at the job site? Do you recall? You're muted, sir.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, was there a stamped set of working drawings at the job site?
That particular day, I don't remember.
Okay, because I'm curious as to whether the stamp set showed the removal of the first floor joists.
They do.
I was asking Mr. Caputo.
Sorry.
I will have to check the drawings.
Okay.
I don't have the drawing.
Okay, I'm asking because that's one of the violations that was written.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And
If I could
Mr.
just-
Yes,
I'm
sir,
sorry,
ma'am.
if I could
Ms.
just-
Tracy? And Ms. Curley, my apologies. Yeah.
Inspector Caputo, when you wrote the violation, do you have any reason to doubt that it's incorrect today?
No.
Okay. And Mr. Tracy, in the project itself, what are the directions of your staff if an inspector objects to work progressing and continuing? What happens in your company when that occurs?
And now they immediately vacate. They lock the building and they leave the premises. And we actively try to correct the violation, whether it's administratively or some type of project, some type of structural issue that needs to be corrected immediately.
But when this violation occurred, in this instance, what was the policy of your company at that time?
This is where this one gets a little confusing. The special inspector told them to finish what they had open in order to steady up the stability of the building.
But what was your company's policy? Not the special inspector's policy, your company's policy.
To vacate.
But they didn't do that.
No, they did not.
And they continued to work even after a stop work order was posted.
After the physical stop order was posted, they all vacated the premises.
Okay. All right. And I guess Mr. Caputo Mr. Serrano, my question for you, this company, Mr. Tracy is involved with, have they been involved in other matters that have created major violations?
I am just going to object because I just want to protect the record that that isn't a basis for the reason why we're asking to suspend it.
Okay, well, thank you. But let me ask a different question then. Mr. Serrano, is it this one project that's causing you to take this action?
Yes, based on the totality of the information provided by Inspector Caputo.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
And sir,
okay.
may I mention one thing, and I didn't want it to be an oversight. The inspector
Well,
went out.
except for this, Mr. Serrano, I think you were called as Ms. Curley's witness. And so I always like to protect the relationship between the witness and the attorney. So you may need to talk to each other before you offer any additional information. Ms. Curley?
That's fine. No, I don't. That's fine. It's at least important at this point.
Okay. I do actually have just one question because Mr. Tracy's made several statements, since his direct testimony. Mr. Tracy, you are familiar that at the last hearing, a letter was sent indicating, purporting to be from the Department of Veterans Affairs, indicating you couldn't appear, and that subsequently, it's been essentially discovered that this letter was fake. Based on that, do you have any comment on that?
So I am a 15-year Army veteran. I did 7 tours overseas. I suffer from PTSD linked to alcoholism. It's all documented by the VA. I'm happy to provide a documentation that states that. At that time, I was going through a spell, would you say? And I was under the care of a physician due to the current events over in the Middle East. It's a trigger of mine. So I was not in a capacity to understand, where that letter, I'm not sure if my office reached out to somebody, how that was sent. It was not sent from me. But when I saw that email come through after I was out, that's what was the first recollection that I ever saw, or first time I ever saw that.
So you don't have any information about this letter that was sent?
No.
Okay, and you don't have any information from your office about why that letter was sent?
No. It was again when that email came back after I was out. That was the first notice I had of it. So I'm not sure, how that got generated. But like I did say, I am a disabled veteran with from the United States Army. We do have that documentation, and we're happy to share that with the board as well.
Okay, I don't have anything further.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tracy. Mr. Tracy, were you in the VA during the time of this letter?
I was in a outpatient clinic for alcoholism.
But you was not in the VA.
No. I was it's in a military medical facility.
Okay, but we're specifically talking about the VA and the signatures and names that's on the letter. You have no idea who they are?
No, I was not available at that time.
Okay, when you saw a copy of the letter from the VA, what was your first reaction?
I just thought it was somebody that was overseeing that said that they say, hey, listen, we can't get in touch with them. Only my direct family was able to get in touch with me at the time. My ex-wife and my son.
Did you reach out to the city to explain that to them?
I did not.
Okay, did the city know why you did not apply? Did not appear at your last court hearing?
Did they know why I did not appear?
Right. You said the letter was phony. So since the letter was phony, there had to have been a reason why you didn't show up at your last hearing.
So my understanding is that they, by the time they got the mail with the notice of the hearing, it was the day before or the 2 days before, and they responded back.
So they was able to get in touch with this fictitious person in 2 days to have you have leave time.
No, I think they just got my mail we have a mail goes to a PO service, and I think they picked the mail up and responded back. As far as that, I can't speak on the letter. I don't have any information of it.
So did you know who responded back then, right?
Somebody from my office.
You don't know who from your office responded back?
I don't.
No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, can we
Yes.
take a 5-minute executive?
Okay, before we do that, I just want to give some
Yes.
final opportunities
For
here.
closing arguments afterwards,
Yes.
we can. Thank you, sir.
Okay. What I want to do, Mr. Tracy, do you have any further information for us?
I do not.
Okay. Ms. Curley, do you have any closing argument?
Just very briefly, board. I think the evidence here presented today by both Inspector Caputo and Serrano is credible and is, supported by the documentation that the city has presented today. There was incredibly dangerous underpinning going on with no special inspector present on site, as they are required to be while the underpinning happens. That hasn't really even been objected to, or contradictory evidence hasn't been presented. In fact, Mr. Tracy seemed to agree with that. The special inspector who, was there was not the special inspector who was listed on the permit. That seems to be also corroborated by actual evidence presented here today. For all of those, that work that occurred at the property supports the department's decision to suspend Mr. Tracy's license for 4 months.
Let me interrupt for one moment, Ms. Curley. Mr. Tracy's visual presence has disappeared from the screen. I just want to note for the record.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Mr. Tracy, we'd like you to be visible at all times.
Yes.
Doing the hearing.
Sorry
Thank you.
about
Okay.
So the department's decision is well substantiated by the evidence that was presented here today. I would just add, Mr. Tracy has made several statements today, some, including that the documents were sent to the city as part of his appeal. I don't believe is correct. I have attached a copy of Mr. Tracy's appeal, for the record as part of our exhibit packet. There's no additional documents with that packet. I think it's also important to note that, he's now saying this letter that was sent to continue an important hearing regarding his license, he has no information about. It came from his office, but he doesn't know anything about it. And just quite frankly, with the evidence the city has presented on that letter is not valid, does not come from a VA employee. And nothing else has been presented here today to contradict that. So I think that should weigh on the board's decision about how credible they find any of the testimony that Mr. Treacy provided. And for that, board, I do hope you affirm the city's decision. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's now 3:04. We will take a 10-minute executive session. Mr. Kelly, we're prepared to go back on the record. Thank you. When we called this matter of Michael Treacy, Ms. Curley, are you present?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Treacy, are you in a vehicle alone? Are you muted, sir?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we didn't do this earlier, but we need to do it for the record. Please remove your mask for a moment, just for identification purposes. Okay, thank you. And I would just want to confirm, Ms. Curley, does your witnesses, can they confirm that that's in fact Mr. Treacy?
I don't know if anyone has met Mr. Treacy personally.
I'd ask that would be put on if they have or not. I just want to know.
Okay. Inspector Caputo, I assume, would be the only one. Inspector Caputo, do you recognize this person?
Yes.
Do you recognize him as Mr. Treacy?
Yeah, he's wearing a mask. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, when he removed the mask, were you able to see his full profile? Mr. Caputo?
Yes.
When he removed the mask, were you able to identify him as in fact Michael Treacy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. We've heard the argument regarding HA.
Mr. Chair, is it
Yes.
possible that we can have Mr. Treacy confirm who he is with his date of birth or whatever we need to do?
Well,
just to put on the record who he is. Because
Sure.
he never ever stated who he was. You swore him in.
Yeah,
And he asked would he tell the truth.
Okay.
But could you please have him confirm who he is?
Yeah, we can ask him to do that within limits. Mr. Tracy, are you in fact confirmed that you are the Michael Treacy, who's the owner, general contractor, and subject to these violations?
I am. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's proceed then to HA-2022-004225 Michael Treacy, city affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Okay, thank you very much. The vote is unanimous. City affirmed. Mr. Treacy, you've lost your appeal. You may appeal our decision. Should you need information as to how to do that, check in with the administrator's office and they will give you information. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, your witnesses are excused. Have a good day.
Thank you, board.
Okay, let's call our final case, Mr. Waite.
Case number 37, hearing appeal ending 1041, 325 South 18th Street. 325 South 18th Street, LLC.
Okay. Now who's representing the city?
Thank you, members of the board. Leonard F. Reuter, for senior attorney for the city of Philadelphia.
Okay. Mr. Reuter, do you have any witnesses for today?
I do have Dr. John Farnham here, Executive Director of the Historical Commission, if we need or to get to any testimony from him.
Okay.
I would also note for the record that there are a couple other attorneys here who represent interested parties. I don't know if they've formally intervened. Mr. Whalen is here for for OCF Realty. They were a applicant for a permit that is related to the appeal that was brought. So Mr. Whalen can probably be unmuted. And Mr. Michael McElhaney is an attorney who represents a conservator, the conservator who is appointed for this particular property.
Okay.
And they can explain, but OCF submitted a permit. It has a contingency sale agreement with the conservator, and pursuant to that agreement, OCF submitted the permit application that is ultimately, I guess, at the heart of this particular appeal. I also would note that Mr. Perkins, we have been told, that's one of the things we want to talk about, but we've been told that Mr. Perkins is now the attorney representing 325 South 18th Street LLC. And as the board's probably aware, Ms. Adams may or may not still have some relationship as a representative of the owner of the title holder of the property as well, which again is 325 South 325 South 18th Street LLC.
Okay, Mr. Rudder, in terms of your understanding of the current state of play, 325 South 18th Street LLC is the owner of record?
They are the owner of record. That is correct.
Okay, just so we can clear ourselves. And that owner of record is currently attempting to transfer ownership to another party.
Yes, again, that's that's a little bit the specific details of that are also somewhat complicated. The prior owner of the property, I guess, had a purchase agreement with 325 South 18th Street LLC. I don't think that's actually a matter that would be relevant in this particular appeal, but it may come up. And again, that may be something that Mr. McElhaney and Whalen can.
Well, we want to keep this thing as simple and clean as possible. We do not want to have argument regarding ownership unless it's directly impinging upon the violation issue. So, Mr. Rado, what is the violation? What action was taken by the city of Philadelphia that's the cause of this appeal?
Well, is going to be the basis of what I will make now orally as a motion to dismiss this appeal, because there was in fact no action that was taken that is subject to an appeal in this particular case. This appeal was filed, I believe, in February of 2023. Attached to the notice of appeal, or there's a number of attachments that were part of that notice of appeal, but the only thing that is attached to the appeal that would have taken place within 30 days of the appeal having been filed is an email response that Dr. Farnham sent to Ms. Adams in response to her request that the city, that Dr. Farnham unilaterally revoke the approval of the Historical Commission of a permit that they had approved back in June of 2022. Dr. Farnham's response, which again is part of their appeal and it's attached to their appeal, is that he's the executive director of the Historical Commission. He has no authority to revoke a decision of the commission. And in addition, that decision of the commission took place in June of 2022, and the time to have appealed that decision to approve the permit application had long since passed. So in effect, this is an appeal of a response by Dr. Farnham that he had no authority to revoke the approval of the Historical Commission any more than if somebody had asked him to pick up their dry cleaning and he said no. The request was made to the wrong church, wrong pew. Any time to appeal the underlying approval by the Historical Commission had long since passed. And even to the extent that there may have been some basis to appeal late, this board still doesn't have any authority to hear late appeals unless in a situation like this, unless they have gone to court and asked the court to issue an order to authorize a non-pro-tunc appeal. That's not happened here. Also, with respect to the timing of this matter, documents that are part of the appeal, part of the documents that were produced by the appellant in this case, clearly indicate that they were well aware of the approval of the Historical Commission as early as June of 2022. They were well aware of the application having been submitted and of the decision of the Historical Commission. There's an email, for instance, from Ms. Adams to a staff member of the Historical Commission from June or July. I can pull it up if I need to, specifically addressing the commission's approval, and the staff member of the Historical Commission provided that documentation at that time. So again, at least as early as July, maybe. So
what was the date of the appeal, Mr. Ron?
Of this appeal?
Yes.
Let me see if I can pull that up. I believe it's February.
Mr. Chair, my
February 3rd,
copy
I
on the
believe.
screen is February 23rd, 2023.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Already. And Mr.
It's February the 3rd of 2023. This is Mr. Perkins speaking.
Okay.
Well, I believe, again, the date of the appeal, notice of appeal, is that was signed by Ms. Adams, shows February 3rd. I think the board processed it on the 23rd. So,
okay. All right. Well, the only other thing I want to ask, Mr. Ryder, is, in fact, this appeal was appealing an action or decision by the Historical Commission back in June of 2022, correct?
Well, technically it's not. This is an appeal from an email that Dr. Farnham wrote.
Okay,
so
but what was the date of his email?
The date of his email is, and I will pull it up. You just give me a moment.
Sure.
January 17th, 2023.
Okay. 2023.
Yes.
All right. Okay. But that does not represent an official action of the Historic Commission. That was a staff person responding to an inquiry.
That is correct.
Okay.
If you want, I can share my screen.
Well, not yet, because I'm just trying to keep this as clear as we can.
Sure.
Who's present? Which attorney is present? Who's representing the appellant?
That's me, Kenneth Perkins. Thank you, Mr. Woodson and board members.
Okay. Now, Mr. Perkins, what I'd like to do, because there are a number, I'm not going to invite every attorney who's on the screen to participate, because this is simply about whether or not the action taken by the Historic Commission / license and inspections was appropriate, and whether they did what they should have done given the circumstances.
Correct.
The other ownership complexities are not going to be discussed. Any other convoluted matters between developers, supposed developers, intended developers will not be discussed. And so that's why I'm asking the question. So what I'd like to do, Mr. Rodder, do you have any additional facts you'd like to put on the record before we invite Mr. Perkins to respond?
Well, again, this was, in effect, as I said, we are moving that the board to dismiss the appeal because the action, such as it was by Executive Director Dr. Farnham, to notify Ms. Adams or the appellant, 325 South 18th Street LLC, that he had no authority to revoke a decision is itself not an appealable action. It's literally just an email response that doesn't constitute anything. It's literally just explaining what the authority of the executive director is. To the extent that one could characterize this as an appeal from the underlying approval of the Historical Commission of the permit application that had previously been reviewed by them in June of 2022, the appeal is far, far too late. It was filed over 6 months later.
Okay. Mr. Perkins, what is your response to Mr. Rodder's motion?
Well, this is not an appeal relative to Mr. Farnham's inactions or actions. This is an appeal from the Historical Commission's failure to notify the owner and to accept.
Wait, Mr. Perkins. Your appeal is of an action taken by the Historical Commission in what date and time?
It's the Historical Commission's June 10th of 2022 approval of OCF's construction permit Okay,
June 10th of 2022.
correct.
And your appeal was January 1 of 2023.
February the 3rd of
My
2020.
apology. My February the 3rd of 2023.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I believe that the appeal date was signed February 3rd. However, the city didn't receive it. The department's administrative staff stamped it received on February 23rd. So
Okay. The stamp
so
date is
we're
what we will go with. We'll go with the stamp
Correct.
date.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't oppose that. But the fact of the matter.
Well, no, Mr. Perkins, before you do more, just follow my logic here. If you are appealing an action of June 10th, 2022, which is roughly 6 months or so after the decision was made, how do you justify the untimely appeal?
The owner never got notice of the historical commission's decision, and to this date has never received formal notice of the historical commission's decision in 2022.
Did the applicant receive notice?
I don't know. We weren't the applicant.
Was the owner?
The applicant was OCF Realty. That's
okay.
OCF Realty was not the owner.
Okay, and who do you represent? No, Mr. Perkins, who do you represent?
325 South 18th Street, LLC, Anthony M. Rufo, sole member, who is, and has been the continuous deeded owner to this property since 2017. The original application with the Historic Commission.
Before you proceed, sir, because I've asked your response. No, listen to me. Your response.
And I respect your.
So you respect it. So just listen to me then. And so essentially, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. You believe that because, and you're alleging that your client did not receive formal notice, and according to you, has not yet received formal notice of the action taken by the Historical Commission, you should be able to appeal the decision that's more than 6 months old. That's your position, correct?
That is correct. My client has, who is the deed owner, which is required on any application. It says deed owner, has never to this date been notified formally of the Historic Commission's decision. And this board has the obligation to review the efficacy of all Historic Commission decisions. And so what you have here is, if I may, because counsel for the city was allowed to make an opening statement, I can make this pretty simple. Okay.
Yes.
There is public records show who the deed owner is on this property. That's my client, 325 South 18th Street, LLC, Anthony M. Rufo, sole member. That is uncontroverted, and it is a matter of public record. Okay. Now, if you file an application for a construction permit, the property owner says it is the deeded property owner. The application, which was approved by the Historic Commission, did not have the deeded property owner, nor did it have any ownership documentation, settlement sheet, which is also required by the LNI application. So on its face, the application submitted to the Historic Commission is defective and void on its face from the start.
But Mr. Perkins, did LNI ever approve a building permit?
Yes. They approved a construction permit for OCF.
And it was issued
a limited one, but
it was issued.
There was an approval. That's what this appeal is.
It was issued on what date by LNI?
Well, LNI hasn't issued it.
Oh, that's what I asked you. If
The
LNI,
Historical Commission approved OCF.
You did not hear me then. I asked you if LNI issued a permit. Your answer was yes. But
I apologize. I was incorrect.
LNI has never issued a permit.
No, but LNI has in front of it an application for a construction permit.
Okay, but it has not taken any action.
Correct.
Okay. And so the issue is whether or not there is a place for this board to intervene for a historic commission approval of a potential permit, but has not yet been issued by the city.
Correct.
And Mr. Browder, any response to that?
Well, sure. I mean, so the approval of the historical commission of a permit can be appealed prior to the permit's issuance. In fact, it's often the case that that would happen. The commission, if somebody submits a permit application to the commission, and the commission, it goes through the staff, then the architectural committee, and then the full commission makes a decision. That decision is an approval of the application because of the approval of the commission is prerequisite. So let me just back up real quick, just so the record's clear. 325 South 18th Street is an historic property. It's a designated property. It's on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. There's no dispute by any party that the property is historic and that any work that's done on the property needs a permit and needs that permit to be approved by the historical commission before the department issues the permit. In this particular instance, actually, I don't know whether the permit application itself has even been submitted to L&I. It may or may not have been, but we do believe it is correct that one can appeal the decision of the historical commission prior to the Department of L&I actually issuing the permit. That being said, that appeal from the historical commission must be taken within 30 days. If you are appealing the commission's approval, that's the action that has to be appealed within 30 days. So again,
Okay.
if they're saying the commission had no authority to approve that, then again, that appeal would have had to have been filed, again, at the time within 30 days. There's documentation produced by the appellant themselves that indicates that they were well aware of the historical commission's approval of this permit as early as July of 2022. So
Mr. Rauner,
and I would also point out that, again, Mr. Perkins is wrong about what the code requires. And I would point to, if you want me to share my screen, I can, or I can.
Yes, please do. Because the other thing we want to know is if, in fact, this issue of deeded owner, whether the owner was notified, is that controversy, is part of the controversy or not.
Of course. Let me see.
If I may, before we do that, I guess I just want to clarify the question. We hear appeals from the decisions of the historical commission. If there was an issue of whether or not the proper appellant was before the historical commission, would that not have been would the appropriate way to appeal that have been to ask for reconsideration or for common pleas court to intervene and issue an order to the historical commission that it didn't have authority to hear this appeal? This isn't an issue that necessarily our board could rule on if it wasn't timely appealed within 30 days. I don't know if Mr. Reuter has a comment on that.
Sure. No, again, that is the city's position, is that, again, especially in this instance where the documentation produced by the appellant themselves indicates that they were well aware of the historical commission's activities back in May and June of 2022. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I would draw your attention to A-301.4, by whom application made. Application for a permit shall be made.
Mr. Chair, could he zoom in on that a little bit, please?
Okay. Make it a little bigger.
Let me see if I can. This is a web page, so oops. No, now I gotta find it. Just give me a sec.
Yeah, it is getting bigger. You've gotten it a bit bigger.
Yes, and I can see that now.
Yeah, now I gotta find the place though. Pardon me. Sorry, my apologies.
You said 302, I think.
Yeah, no,
2.4.
When I zoomed in, it'll just take me a sec. Sure. Here we go. 301.4. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so an application for a permit shall be made by the owner or lessee of the building or structure or agent of either by the registered design professional employed in connection with the proposed work by any person or entity with written documentation of equitable ownership of that property by the conservator of the property or other licensed person authorized to apply by the codes. So in this instance, the conservator of the property has or at the time, and I think it's still active, a contingent sale agreement with OCF Realty. OCF Realty had the authority of the conservator to submit this permit application. And again, even if it were true that somebody off the street submits a permit application, that is a matter that as Mr. Pincus points out, would have to be resolved through another forum. In other words, like you would go into a court and seek an injunction to prevent that agency from reviewing the application, whether it's the Historical Commission, Art Commission, L&I, whoever it might be. In this instance, again, you could also challenge it by bringing an appeal. If you bring that appeal in a timely manner. Nothing of the sort was done here. We have emails from mid 2022, the summer of 22, that indicate that the appellant here was well aware of the Historical Commission's action and could have taken an appeal at that time or could have sought court intervention at that time, et cetera, and none of that was made. This is basically a collateral attack on decisions and activities that have been taking place in the Court of Common Pleas with respect to the conservatorship action, with which the city has no involvement, nor the Historical Commission. It is simply a collateral attack on the authority of the conservator. And again, the city's not taking any position on the rightness or the validity of the conservatorship or any of that. The court issued orders, they granted the conservatorship. The city accepts permit applications from conservators and persons that they are authorizing to submit applications. That's it. Any argument that either the conservator or the person they had a sale agreement with should not be able to submit a permit application should have been argued, and I think it actually was argued in the conservatorship action, which again, the city is not involved in. So again, it's our position that there's no there isn't. This is not the, and again, the decision, or not even decision, but the response by Dr. Farnham that he could not unilaterally revoke the determination of the Historical Commission. Obviously, he clearly doesn't have that authority. So even if we were to consider this an appeal from a decision by Dr. Farnham to not revoke an authorization or an approval by the Historical Commission that took place 6 months earlier, clearly he was right. He doesn't have that authority. So there isn't, if that's the appeal, then again, on its face, we would just move, for like the equivalent of a summary judgment. That's simply not something that can be appealed. It's not a decision. It's literally an explanation of what his authority is.
In this case, Mr. Rado, who was the applicant on the Historic Commission application? Was it the conservator?
It was OCF Realty who had the authority.
Was OCF Realty the conservator, or had an agreement of sale with the conservator?
They have an agreement of sale with the conservator that I believe is contingent upon being able to do the proposed work.
Okay. OCF Realty was the applicant. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Just one moment.
For the record, the conservator is Philadelphia Community Development Coalition, I believe. It's just a private entity.
Sure.
Mr. Woodson, may I address a couple of your questions?
And you are, sir?
I'm Kenneth Perkins.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had my head down. I didn't recognize the voice. My apologies.
No worries.
Yeah, please do, because this is a bit unorthodox for us, but we need to try to hear these spaces filled in before we make a decision on Mr. Rado's motion. Yes, you want to respond?
Yeah, and I want to try to make it simple. The this is not, first of all, this is not an appeal from any email exchange that council had with Mr. Farnham. This is an appeal which this board has the authority to review historic commission decisions. Now, Mr. Reuters says that he has information that indicates that the 325 South 18th Street LLC had knowledge of the historic commission's decision. I haven't seen those emails, and frankly, to this day, and this is important, there is no evidence that this deed owner, which is required by any application, received notice. Okay, so there's no notice to the deed owner. It is true that OCF Realty had an agreement of sale, but by court order, that agreement of sale expired long before the historic application, historic commission application. So there's the application to the historic commission is flawed on its face. It's defective on its face, which means that any action by the historic commission on that defective application should have been stricken and void, and this board has the authority to do that, to review historic commission decisions. My co-counsel, Ms. Adams, has submitted timely a list of exhibits, which are all a matter of public record, which prove all of these points. Okay.
Mr.
And
Perkins,
I would move, and if
I would ask you a question though. Was there a conservator in place at the time?
Yes, there's a conservator in place. Okay.
All right.
But that does not relieve the historic commission's obligation to notify the owner. And just because there's a conservator does not divest ownership. There's case law, which Ms. Adams has submitted in the exhibits, the Farmington case, which clearly shows that just because there's a conservatorship, ownership is not altered or divested in any way.
Okay.
So this owner is and has been and continues to be the deed owner, which is required for any application, and this owner has never received notice of the historic commission's decision. And that's why this appeal is timely.
Okay, well, that's something we will determine. So what we will do, Mr. Rowder, you have a motion that's been argued and discussed. I'm going to invite my colleagues to take a short executive session, and we will come back, determine how to proceed from this point. Thank you.
Can I ask a question before we
Sure.
adjourn for the discussion?
Yes.
I'm just looking at the reason for the appeal. I'm trying to find in this reasoning that that it's an appeal from the decision of the historical commission. I know you're arguing all these issues with respect to rightful owner, legal owner, and so on. But in the appeal that was filed by Ms. Adams, does she in any way indicate that this is actually a late appeal of a decision of the historical commission, and we should grant a hearing because we should accept her late appeal of that decision? I just don't seem to see that wording in the reason for the appeal, or in what we have a late appeal form that one can file saying this is a late appeal. Do you have any information regarding that, Mr. Perkins?
I don't have any information about a late appeal form, but it's clear that this is from what has been submitted, and including all of the exhibits that were submitted ahead of time, which are.
But Mr. Perkins, that wasn't his question. His question was the language used in the appeal. Please direct your answer to the language in the appeal form.
Okay, let me pull it up and we'll go through it.
Well, we don't have to do an extensive review of it. I'm just wondering if I believe your statements have been in response to comments from Mr. Reuter that essentially this is an appeal, it was late because your clients weren't knowledgeable in the decision, and therefore we should accept this as a late appeal once you filed your appeal. And I'm just trying to see whether any of the statements that were made in the appeal reference a late appeal.
Well, it's clear from the appeal that my client was not notified and he's the owner.
Okay, that's
And
fine.
you can't take an appeal unless you get notified. That's basic due process. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
If I
Thank
might,
you.
if I
Thank
might,
you.
before you go into executive session, I do think it's important, if you're going to decide the motion, that I just get one document into the record and just have Dr. Farnham verify it, if that's
Oh, okay. All right.
If I could just
And may
introduce-
I'd like to supplement my last answer. Ms. Adams' submission, which was dated February 3rd of 2023, clearly in its reason for the appeal references constitutional due process regarding notice. That's what this is all about. The owner has to get notified.
Okay.
And the
Thank
owner did not get notified. Mr. Rufo wants to say something.
He can't. I'm not going to do that. No. Mr. Roder gets to speak, and then we'll go in executive session.
Sure. If then I would ask that Dr. John Farnham be unmuted.
Okay. And Mr. Farnham is, I don't see him yet. Yes, I do. Yes. Raise your right hand, sir, so you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Dr. Farnham, just could you state your name for the record?
My name is Jonathan Farnham.
And what is, do you work for the city?
Yes, I do. I'm the executive director of the Philadelphia Historical Commission.
And have you been the executive director of the Historical Commission, at least for the last, say, 5 years?
Yes, since 2005.
Okay. And are you familiar with a permit application that was submitted for the commission's approval back in the spring of 2022?
For the property in question, yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, for 325 South 18th Street. Okay. I'm going to.
I don't mean to interrupt, but can we have that application brought up as an exhibit?
Well,
we can do that, but that's not what I'm going to ask him about right now.
If you're going to ask him
Oh,
about
Mr. Perkins, the answer is at the moment, no. I want Mr. Roder to finish his questioning on his terms, and then you can cross-examine the witness, of course.
Sure, thanks. Now I got to find it.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, was Mr. Farnham sworn?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Farnham, can you see what I'm showing up on my screen here?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Can you see this?
Yes.
See my cursor? Sure.
Yes.
And let me see if I can blow this up a little bit without, so the board can see it as well. All right. Sorry about that. Now, what are we looking at, right? Oh, first of all, I would indicate to the top left of the screen, you will see that this says completed PHC appeal cover and attachments 1 through 9. And the board already has this. This is actually the appeal submission by 325 South 18th Street LLC. And this is actually, I think, the last page, or one of the last pages of what is indicated as attachment number 7, and it is on page 87 out of 146 pages that were submitted as attachments to the appeal. So again, getting back to this, Dr. Farnham, this is an email from who?
It appears to be an email from Olivia Adams.
Okay, and it indicates that does it indicate that she would like to come in and review above reference plans?
Yes, that's what it says.
And what is the subject line?
The subject line is Review Project 325 South 18th Street.
Sure. And now what is the sent date on this email?
June 15th, 2022.
And who is that sent to?
to preservation@phila.gov. That is the Historical Commission's main email address.
Okay, now I'm going to scroll up to another thing. And what is this?
This appears to be a response from the Historical Commission to Ms. Adams.
Okay, and I don't want to belabor the point, but what is the content of the email say? You can just read it into the record. That's fine.
Ms. Adams, I am forwarding you the recent submissions for the rehabilitation of 325 South 18th Street. These were reviewed by the Architectural Committee 5/24/2022 application and revised application for the Historical Commission 6/10/2022. The files are large, so I am sending these in two separate emails. Attached is the submission for the Architectural Committee meeting. The second email will include the revised submission for the Historical Commission meeting, and it's signed Allison Maley, who is a staff member at the Historical Commission.
Okay, and what is the date of this email?
June 16th, 2022.
Thank you. The city doesn't have anything else to present with respect to the motion.
Okay, Mr. Perkins, do you have any cross-examination of Mr. Farnham?
I do. Dr. Farnham, this is Kenneth Perkins. I have a few questions regarding your testimony just now relative to the emails that were shown in the hearing. My question is pretty simple. Do any of those emails indicate a decision on the part of the Historic Commission?
I don't believe those. I just reviewed those emails for the first time
I'll put it back up
ago, but I don't believe the words approval or denial are used in them now.
So in fact, those emails don't prove any decision on the part of the Historic Commission, correct?
Well, I haven't seen the attachments to those emails, but nothing in the text indicates whether the application was approved or denied.
Nor do the emails indicate anything about any notice to 325 South 18th Street LLC, do they?
I'm not sure what you mean by notice.
Well, notice of any decision.
There's nothing in those emails regarding the notification of the applicant, no.
I don't have any further questions of Dr. Farnham.
Okay, thank you very much.
So what I think the emails clearly demonstrate, however, is that the 325 South 18th Street LLC by-in through their attorney at the time was clearly aware that the commission was in fact reviewing the permit application that had been submitted by OCF.
Mr. Woodson, is this testimony or is this argument at this point?
Okay, Mr. Rado, what we're going to do, I think we've heard the arguments.
Closing. It's self-evident that they were aware, and if they had an objection to the commission proceeding, that objection never came in.
Okay, let's do this. Mr. Rado, we've heard the argument already, so we're going to take a moment to go into executive session before we come back. Okay, thank you. Mr. Kelly, thank you everyone for your patience and cooperation. We've heard from the city as well as from the respondent, the appellant. There are two things the board has decided that we will do today. One, Mr. Rado, your motion to dismiss based on the fact that you didn't believe there's an appealable action by LNI, we're going to deny that motion. However, we are not going to hear this matter because the appeal was not timely. And so it's a lack of prosecution in this matter. So it's been dismissed for being untimely. That's the decision of the board. Of course, you can appeal this decision if you choose. And you're experienced attorneys, you understand how to do that. Thank you very much for your participation and cooperation today. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. May I be excused?
Yes,
Thank you, Mr.
everyone may
Woodson.
be excused.
Thank you, Mr. Woodson, and thanks to the board.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Good evening. Okay. Mr. Wade, do we have any other cases for today?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. So if there's nothing else, everyone is excused. Have a good evening. And
Have a
try
good
to stay,
evening.
stay
Get out
safe.
Get out your shovels.
Yep.
I'm getting out my Pappy Van Winkle.
Okay.
Safe tomorrow.
Everyone have a blessed day and be
Okay.
safe.